Yeah. So what, when you, I don't know, do you kind of okay, when writing a play, what are some of the biggest thing, like what is the number one thing you would think about, like when you sit down and you're like, all right, I'm gonna write this play? Would you say, like, is it the who you're gonna well, I guess that's not, the casting would be more the director, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really write with certain people in mind. I just
okay.
sort of, I think a lot about music. I mean, all of my plays have music in them, and music is sort of where I start, and I don't, I sort of allow myself to work from the subconscious and work from impulse, and I don't set out to write. I don't say, like, okay, I'm going to write about this, this, and this. I sort of I read a lot. I read a lot of writers that I find really exciting and inspiring, and I'll read for a while and then just sort of start writing right after I finish reading, and sort of work from there. So I read a lot of poetry, a lot of novels, and I read a lot of Toni Morrison. So, I just sort of read for a while, and I think using other people's work as a sort of jumping off point, or just trying to put your headspace in somewhere else besides yourself, and what am I going to write? Putting pressure on yourself allows me to sort of like not, to sort of be freer in what I'm doing a little bit, I think. Yeah, and that was sort of taught to me by a woman named Sybil Kempson. I was a professor at Sarah Lawrence, and we had to write our own syllabi for each other. Like, we had to write our own, like, total syllabus for the semester, and what we wanted to read and free associate from. So that's sort of where I learned that.
Neat. So who are some of these poets and novelists that I saw, you said you read a lot of Toni Morrison, but who are some of the...
Yeah, Toni Morrison is, I mean, obviously Toni Morrison's incredible. I read Mary Oliver is a poet I really love. My friend Emily got me into Mary Oliver. Charles Bukowski, if I say his last name, is someone who I'm very interested by. Who else? I mean, there's just like so many, there's so many people. Elizabeth Bishop is another writer that I look up to. There's really a ton, but those are the ones I can think of at the moment.
Who's your favorite
author?
Yeah.
Oh, I really couldn't say. I mean, I guess Toni Morrison would be one of my favorite authors, but favorite poet, definitely Mary Oliver, I guess. I could say.
Mary Oliver.
Mary Oliver.
Cool.
Directing wise, I really didn't direct a ton until I went to the National Theater Institute. That's where I really got the bulk of my directing experience, like during my college career. I directed a little bit at Sarah Lawrence, readings and small things, small festivals, but I wasn't directing like big productions. So that's sort of like where I got the bulk of my experience. So directing wise, that was kind of it. But when I came back for my senior year, I was a part of a group called Women's Naked Shakespeare, which is a group for women, femmes, and non-binary folks to sort of come together and like make a show, but also be just like a group of support for one another. And so I was in that since my freshman year, which was awesome. And I got to, sort of bond with a lot of different people, a lot of different artists. And then at the end of the semester, we did a show. And so I was doing that I was in Taming of the Shrew my freshman year, and then I was posthumous in Cymbeline my second year. And then my senior year, I was director of the group. So I was sort of leading the group, and different, bonding things and just hanging out, but also trying to lead us eventually towards a production. And we were going to do 12th Night inspired by sort of the lives of Nova Scotia fishermen and vacationers, which was going to be super fun, but, COVID happened. So we got to do like a little photo shoot on the Hudson, which was super fun.
I bet.
So at least we got that. And yeah, it was great. But that's sort of the directing experience side of it all. And at the National Theatre Institute, I directed everything from, you know, like, was doing Thornton Wilder and Sarah Rule and, you know, Carol Churchill. I directed Carol Churchill, you know, did a lot of different, every week was a different piece of a play. So it was really quite amazing. Yeah, so that's sort of where that came in. And then writing didn't really come in for me until NTI, National Theatre Institute, as well. So I was doing writing here, and then I sort of got excited by it. And I came back for my senior year and took a course with Sybil Kimson, I mentioned before, and she sort of changed my life. And now I'm sort of, striving to create more and more, even in this crazy time. So I wrote some new pieces when I was in her class, and I'm sort of attempting to develop at the moment, and do more work on. So that's
awesome. Yeah, this teacher you're talking about. What's her name is Sybil Kimson, you said, and she teaches at NTI. Or
no, she teaches at Sarah Lawrence.
Okay.
Lawrence, yeah.
So is she like? Does she have any? Does she have any like big credits? Or I know you said you obviously think very highly of her. I was just curious if. Yeah,
I mean, she's done a lot of work in New York, and around the world, like internationally. She's done a lot of work. She's a writer, and she also has a theater company of her own where they create work as sort of like an ensemble, and so I can speak more to her as a teacher than I can anything else. But she's done a lot. I mean, she's done a lot of incredible work. I can't even. I mean, there's probably too much. If you want to know more, Google her.
Okay. So she would be on Google. You think? Probably.
Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty dope. Cool. So, now, so you graduated, and man, I had a question I was going to ask you about. Oh yeah. Okay, so recently, what you were telling me the other day, so with your play Flush that you wrote, you're now you're at NTI there. You told me that you're getting paid, right? So they paid you for the rights to your play?
Well, when you give a play, you know, when your play's done, technically they have to pay rights on it. I mean, it's, you know, that's just kind of how things work in the world. But
yeah, but you're making money. You're making money off your craft, right?
I mean, I don't want to say that. I wouldn't say I'm quote making money. I mean, you know.
Well, you made some money.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's not like I'm like, you know. Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way.
Well, so you got paid. you got paid for your work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's definitely. I remember we were talking about that the other day. That's definitely a very big. It can be like a big moment, like a proud moment. You know, it's definitely. You know, you've obviously worked very hard in theater and writing your whole life, so that's definitely a big accomplishment, I would say. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, and that play is opening this Friday, correct? Flush?
Yes.
Okay. And it can be seen online, correct?
Yeah. It can be seen online. I mean, if people want to see it,
what's the
link is in my bio.
On your Instagram bio? Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, no pressure, everyone. But
oh yeah, okay, I got it. Okay. Oh, you got to buy tickets. Okay.
I mean, it's free.
Oh, okay. You just have to go
you all don't have to pay anything.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Okay, so
that's exciting.
Yeah, super exciting. Okay, during your time at Sarah Lawrence, you traveled to Russia, correct?
Yeah, that was before I came to the National Theatre Institute. I traveled to Russia. Studied acting in Russia at the Moscow Art Theater.
And wasn't that you went like, it was a whole year, wasn't it? You went like...
No, it was a semester. It was a semester.
Oh. Okay. What was that, like 3-4 months, I guess? 3 months? 3.5?
Yeah, it was, well, I guess it was like 3 months, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like, studying theater at Russia?
It was incredible. I mean, the Russian theater is sort of like, you know, actors for the Russian theater, like, they're celebrities. So theater was really highly respected there, which is an experience I haven't had in America.
Right, yeah.
Which is really nice. And the work is pretty, astounding. I mean, it's pretty, a lot of spectacle. There's a lot of work in spectacle, and spectacle is a big part of the theater there. So it was just big and beautiful. And there's something about Russian theater, the emotion that they bring to it, the passion, the drive is just sort of unreal. I've never seen anything like it. So it was incredible to see theater there and to study there as well. I studied movement there. I was doing sort of the, acrobatic work, stuff like that. And then I was also doing ballet, which was fun, which was crazy, and traditional Russian dance. So it's a lot of like stomping. It's like very cool. It's like, yeah, it was very cool. And then I did work, we did a lot of work with Chekhov. So a lot of work with Chekhov, and we ended up doing
what is
Three
that?
Sisters.
What is Chekhov?
Chekhov is a playwright. Chekhov is a playwright. Yeah, from a while back. And very famous Russian playwright. A lot of his work is also, it's done, around the world. It's a very famous playwright. So we ended up doing a lot of Chekhov, and I did Three Sisters. Chekhov's Three Sisters. So.
Oh, yeah. I know. I've heard of that, the Three Sisters from him.
Yeah. Three Sisters, Uncle Vanya. Those are sequel. Yeah. So, it's great. It's great.
There we
awesome.
Go. Chekhov. Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, that's super neat. So this was like, do you remember if it was like a spring or fall semester? Was it a fall semester that you went?
I went in the fall.
Yeah.
I went into the fall.
And was it like, what was the weather like in Russia? Like, was it cold at that time? Like,
yeah, it was cold. It was cold.
Bet.
It was warm when we got there, but
yeah,
it gets pretty cold in Russia. Yeah.
I can imagine. What's the city like there? Is it like crowded, or
cool.
is it similar? Is it similar to New York in a way, or like?
No, it's not similar to New York. But it was. It's more spread out. Russia's just massive. So Moscow, I was in the center of Moscow, so I can't really speak to, the landscape or the feeling of Russia in general, or even Moscow in general. I was really in the city center, so it was a lot of, it's where tourists go, and I was right by Red Square, so a sort of very famous spot in Russia. The Moscow Art Theater is literally, right by Red Square, so I was in a sort of very touristy area, but it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And then I went outside of the city center to do, I would go to museums and went to a lot of museums, went to markets outside of the city. So, open air markets where you sort of find like, old, medals, Russian medals, and, you find nesting dolls and stuff like that. It was really fun. So I went there and, yeah, so I explored a little bit. We also took a trip to St. Petersburg, so I saw a lot of St. Petersburg and saw some shows there, and it was absolutely beautiful. Very different, I think, than Moscow. So not really at all like New York. Very different, but beautiful in its own way.
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool. And you also, you spent a couple months there. It's pretty cool. Bet that was an eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
So you spent 4 years in New York, and you grew up here in Louisville. What is... kind of see if you can, like, compare the creative scene, like, in general in New York versus Louisville.
I don't really know if they're comparable. I think they're just really different. They're just different scenes. I think New York is just so vast, so big.
Yeah.
So it's just a different thing, just a different animal. I think Louisville has some really beautiful artists and creators, and I think it's just a different vibe. I mean, I think the community is maybe more, a smaller and closer, maybe in a way,
Yeah.
which is I think really lovely. And I think Louisville has a lot of has a really good foundation, has a lot of potential, and I would love to see Louisville. I think Louisville has pretty big institutions that make work. Actors Theater being one of them is an amazing place. But it would also be great to see more community-driven places of art and theater and work in general. And I think that those are starting to happen. And so it would be great to see more of that eventually in the coming years.
Yeah, that reminds me. What about, do you ever hear anything more from Walden Theatre?
Yeah, Walden I think it's now called Commonwealth Theater. But they're still doing it. And Walden Commonwealth Theater was a big part of my time in Louisville, middle school and high school. So I did that on top of youth performing arts school, and I had a lot of friends who did that along with me, and met a lot of amazing people through that. So yeah, Walden or the Commonwealth Theater Center is still going. I'm sure they're doing some cool stuff.
Yeah. What did you do? What did you do there exactly? Was it just like rehearsal and plays, or
Yeah, I mean, I took like improv there, took acting, took scene studies and clowning and movement and voice. I did a lot of different stuff. What I sort of associate with my time there is Shakespeare. I did a lot of Shakespeare at Walden. So yeah, I would think of the bulk of my Shakespeare training I really got from before I went to college or anything, was from Walden. I did a lot of Shakespeare. I did Richard II, Henry IV, part 1 and 2. Did just, it was a lot of Shakespeare. Henry VI, did Henry VI there as well. A lot of Henrys. Yeah, Romeo and Juliet. Did Romeo and Juliet there. Yeah, I mean, just like a lot of cool stuff. So yeah, I think I mainly associate my time there with Shakespeare. Of course, they do more than that, but my experience, I really think about Shakespeare.
You see in the Louisville creative scene that I guess really stands out. When I say creative, I mean like in general, with music, with performing, anything. Like what are some things that stand out to you?
I guess just like tight bonds between artists, and always, I feel like everyone's always willing to give their time, give their effort and time, and they're just extremely generous people. People are always, I feel, willing to help, and I think that's pretty beautiful. I mean, I think it's easy to, not easy, but it's, I think that people find a lot of, community in that way. Like, people are always willing to give their time. And from my experience, I can only speak to my experience, but I felt that people have been willing to give me their time and to help me if they can. And I was also really lucky to grow up, with a community of artists around me, like young artists who were my age, who were also striving for something similar. And so I think I also have sort of, that community is sort of inherent to me. And I know a lot of other people maybe didn't get that or haven't discovered that community yet. So I hope that Louisville just keeps growing and keeps building places of sharing and generosity. I hope there's places that keep coming up, communities that keep popping up. Yeah.
Cool. That's interesting that you say, talking about tight bonds and good relationships with different artists, because I've had a lot of recording artists on the show, and we talk about from the a lot of the business side of the music scene here in Louisville, and it's just there's just not a whole lot of good. The music business here in Louisville is not the best. The talent is awesome, but the music business here is just not the best. And we've talked about a lot of, artists that are coming up out of here, recording artists that kind of show, not, how do I want to say it? That I've said it before. Like there's more hate here in Louisville than there is love in terms of recording artists for each other, like having for each other, like people just like nickel and diamond and like, well, no, I'm not going to work with you because, just a lot of petty stuff towards each other. And then on top of that, the business side is just not, where it should be in order for Louisville if Louisville wants to become like a center of, I guess you could say like a hub, someplace like Atlanta or New York, that first of all, that would be a while, but the music business has to get better, and it's got to be more genuine, and it's got to improve here. But that's interesting because from what I see, there's more hate here in Louisville than love towards recording artists, but that's interesting. So it seems a little different for your experience
I can't say that, I haven't made, I've been really out of Louisville ever since I was in high school, and returning to Louisville was really after the pandemic hit,
right.
Was really the longest span of time that I had spent in Louisville. So, I'm sure there are people who could speak more to the experience of being an artist, especially a theater artist in Louisville. And I'm sure it has its own specific struggles. But I guess from what I've seen, I do think that there is a certain amount of generosity that is inherent. And
that's good.
That doesn't always mean that things are great or there's a lot of opportunity, because I'm sure there's, a sort of need for, we need more opportunities, I'm sure, for artists in Louisville. But I don't think that, that comes from people not, wanting to be together and make work. I just think it comes from what it is. So, I'm sure that there's someone, there are people, Louisville artists who can speak more to that. But that's what I see when I go home.
Interesting.
So
that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's Louisville, an interesting place. There's a lot of good art coming from here, I will say.
Yeah, I think so too.